Hey everyone, it is Clint. Welcome back. Guess who's in the news again? Mark Waid is in the news. And I'm actually really looking forward to talking about this because this is interesting. But first, have you noticed anything different? If you'll look up above, look at that amount. This is amazing. We have passed 30,000 for Downcast. Man, it has been a long road and a grind. Thank you everybody that supported me and that backed the book. I'm not going to disappoint you. I'm working really hard to make this the best possible product that I can. I'm really excited to get it into your hands. So thank you very much, everybody. All 871 of you. Fantastic. This is great too, because for indie comics, this is fantastic. I think, often you get used to looking at just the biggest campaigns and thinking, oh, well, it's not $100,000. No, it's not. But 30 grand is really, really impressive. This is more than most indie comics ever make on crowdfunding sites. In fact, this is more than a lot of professionals that are going off to do their own creator stuff in crowdfunding. This is more than many of them make or close to it. And we're actually going to get the thing fulfilled and shipped out. So that's already, a step above many of those campaigns. So great things are coming in the future. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to this. Marvel Comics number 1000 pulled Mark Waid's essay that called America deeply flawed. Now, for some context here, this is coming out in the wake of, you remember those Gillette commercials? And I had read so much everywhere, I did videos about this, that there was this marketing scheme that if you went with the woke marketing, they were actually going to use the backlash of, I think, the majority of people that were upset with it, to actually market and be talked about, create buzz and stuff like that. And ultimately they come out on top. This was the thinking that a lot of marketers were doing, in that if you talked about, for example, Nike enough because of the controversy, eventually people forget about what the controversy was and they're still going to support the product just because it is name recognition, and they kind of move on and none of it really matters. Gillette is not the first, but it's one really big example of this woke marketing completely backfiring. They did terrible. Their sales have been tanking, and it obviously strongly had something to do with their marketing angle. In fact, that's why they're about, pulling a full about face, and they're changing things, and they're going to focus on, they say, local heroes or something like that, as opposed to social issues. Now, Marvel Comics has been on this woke thing for quite a while. I realize that politics have made their way in and out of comics throughout the years, but most recently, the comics in Marvel, from Marvel rather, have been so divisive that it really has turned a lot of people off. And that's what we've been saying. That's what you've been saying now for years. And Marvel is starting to make what I think are some concessions. This is the second most recent example, and I suspect that we're going to see more. We're not going to see a total about face and an apology, at least not yet, but we are going to see Marvel starting to soften their tone, I think. Now, they might go back on this, but this is pretty important. All right, so Marvel Comics number 1000 apparently was going to be this giant book full of tons of different creators, and they were going to include an essay, I guess, or several essays. I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm not interested whatsoever in this issue. There's going to be a cajillion variant covers, and I guess really not the kind of content that normal people would be super interested in reading. And so, yeah, this really demonstrates the fact of basically this is what Marvel has come down to. So many variant covers and yet so little in between the pages. All right, here is an excerpt from Mark Waid's screed political drivel that was coming out of his keyboard as he typed this.
The system isn't just. We've treated some of our own abominably. Worse, we've perpetuated the myth that any American can become anything, can achieve anything through sheer force of will. And that's not always true. This isn't the land of opportunity for everyone. The American ideals aren't always shared fairly, yet without them we have nothing. The American system is flawed, but it's the only mechanism we have with which to remedy inequality on a meaningful scale.
And blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem. I feel like a lot of people, like Mark Waid, looking at you, Mark Waid, I feel like you're misunderstanding what the American dream is and what the I don't know, promise is of capitalism and freedom, people always seem to mistake this for, hey, if I haven't been successful, that means that there's no possible way, a route to be successful in your system. That's not really how it works. Not at all. In fact, you could take the same person and maybe spend a year sitting on your hands and doing absolutely nothing and hoping that things are going to get better, and you'll see that life is not going to be so great. Take that same person, and if you can magically change them with the snap of a finger and tell them to work really hard and work toward a goal and give them the freedom to do that, they're going to be much better off in year 2 than they were in year 1. This is true for everybody. Now, does that mean that you're going to be a billionaire on the level of Bill Gates if you work hard? Probably not for everybody, but that's not the promise. Nobody said that everyone can be Bill Gates. That's not the promise. That's not the American dream. What the promise is that if you have freedom, if you're free to pursue happiness and to pursue a living and everything else you want to do, that that's legal and within reason, you're going to be better off with freedom, seeking whatever it is that you're trying to get. You're going to be better off that way than you would otherwise, where the government is just providing everything for you and you have no drive or no goal, no freedom to act. Now, I don't think that this is extreme politics that I'm getting into. To me, this is common sense. But then I think, I don't know, is for like Mark Waid, this is common sense, this other thing? I think it's a little extreme, and apparently Marvel thinks it's extreme too, which makes sense. This is the publisher of Captain America, and no matter what you say about Marvel's politics, it's an American comic book company. To have the focal point of your essay be really a slap in the face to, I think, most of your readers, it's just unnecessary. Why even do this? Mark Waid's wings have been clipped, and I love it. Now, you still have the freedom of speech. Go ahead and say whatever you want on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere else. Actually, please do, because that does make for great content. But you don't get to publish it under Marvel's name, because they get to decide what they publish and what they don't publish. And this is coming off of really, what was it, a week or so ago, Art Spiegelman. He did the same kind of thing. He wrote something that was very anti-Trump, Orange Skull, I guess. I mean, of all the criticisms of Trump, why, like the orange thing, it's just tired. Like anything else, make it funny, anything, but orange. So Marvel did the same thing. They said they wanted to steer clear of politics, and they didn't include his writing in an anthology. They didn't include it. Does this mean things are going to get better at Marvel? Well, I don't know. The future will tell. The truth is, whether they want to admit it or not, and they're not going to admit this, they're not. They're going to be slowly changing things because there's a state of desperation at Marvel Comics. I really believe that. We're seeing it in the sales numbers. We're seeing it in the shrinking of the industry. And if Marvel is the leader, they are right now. They're the leader. They're setting the tone. They're setting the pace for all else in comics. If they're unwilling to adjust and change in order to serve their customers, the comic industry is in big, big trouble. Now, it already is in big trouble. And this is such an opportunity that so many indie creators are able to jump in and sell a lot of books. And in many cases, outsell a lot of books coming out of Marvel and DC. There's an opportunity here because fans, comic book readers, are not being provided with the content that they want and that they're willing to pay for. This is the consequence. So what are they going to do? Tell Mark Waid to rein it in a little bit and just tell good stories? I know he's a good writer. He is capable of writing very good stories. This is the first time really that I have heard of Marvel editorial actually doing some editorial and setting some kind of standard for what they're going to talk about. So I don't know, maybe this is a good sign. Maybe it's, it's a little too late. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm really, really interested to see, do you think it's going to get better in comics, or do you think it's going to continue down the same path? And these are just a couple of outliers that aren't really going to make an effect on the trajectory. Either way, I honestly don't think it matters all that much because we've got lots to be excited about in indie comics and a lot more to come. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.